As we can see, 10 minus 8 is 2. Now you can add a 0 here and we bring down that 0. So this becomes 20. 4 times 5 is 20. The remainder is 0. So the answer is 0.25. So the decimal value of 1/4 is 0.25. Ever seen a fraction like 1/3 turn into 0.33 and so on, and wondered why it never ends? Or why 1/2 becomes 0.5 so easily? In this quick video, I'll show you the simplest way to convert any fraction to a decimal and explain why some never stop repeating. Let's dive in. Say for example, we are converting the fraction 1/5 into a decimal. To convert any fraction to a decimal, we do division, which is long division. We always divide numerator by the denominator. As you can see in this fraction, 1 is the numerator and 5 is the denominator. We divide 1 by 5. So we take 5 and then we take 1 like this, and now we do the division. Now, as you can see, 1 is smaller than 5. To divide 1 by 5, we put a decimal and we can add a 0. Now, we put the decimal point here, exactly above the decimal point. And now, 5 times 2 is 10. So 10 minus 10 is 0. So the answer is 0.2. So 1/5, the decimal answer is 0.2. All right. Let's take another example. Say we are converting 1/4 into a decimal. So what is the decimal value for 1/4? Again, we divide numerator by denominator. So we take 4 as the divisor, 1 as the dividend. Now we are dividing 1 by 4. Now again, 1 is smaller than 4. So we put a decimal point and we add a 0. And we put the decimal point exactly above that. And now you can see 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Now we can add a 0 here and bring that 0 down here. Now 4 times 5, that is 20, and the remainder is 0. So we usually divide until the remainder is 0. So here the answer is 0.25. So 1/4, the decimal value is 0.25. Let's take another example. Say the fraction is 5/11, or I can say 5/11. Now what is the decimal value for this fraction? Now we take 5 and then we are dividing 5 by 11. As you can see, 5 is smaller than 11. We put a decimal point, we add a 0. Now we put the decimal point here, exactly above the decimal point. And now 11 times 4 is 44. 50 minus 44. So you get here 6, right? So 50 minus 44 is 6. And now we can add a 0 here and bring down that 0 here. Now we can do 11 times 5. That's going to be 55. 60 minus 55. That's going to be 5. And now again you can add a 0 here. You can bring down that 0. This becomes again 50. Now again you can do 11 times 4. That's going to be 44. So 50 minus 44, that becomes 6. Right? So now again you can add a 0 and you can bring down that 0 here. That becomes 60. And now you can do again 11 times 5 is 55. And now you get 4 again. If you see here, 4, 5, 4, 5 keeps repeating, right? So we can say that The decimal value of this fraction is 0.4545 and so on. As you can see that 45 is repeating, right? So we can put a bar on that. So the answer is going to be 0.45. As you can see, 45 is repeating continuously. So we can put a bar on 45. So the answer is 0.45 bar. That's the decimal value for 5/11. All right. Let's take another example question. Say we are converting the next fraction into a decimal. Let's see what is the value. Say the fraction is 1/3. So what is the decimal value for this fraction 1/3? Again, we take 1 and we are dividing 1 by 3. So we take 3 here. And now again, 1 is smaller than 3. To divide 1 by 3, we put a decimal. We can add 0 here. Now, we put the same decimal point here above exactly the below decimal. And now 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. And now you can add a 0 here and bring down that 0. This becomes again 10. 3 times 3 is 9 again. So 10 minus 9 is 1. You can add another 0 here. And now we bring down that 0 here. And again 3 times 3 is 9. You get again 1. So as you can see that 3 is repeating here, right? What is the answer for 1/3? So that's going to be 0.333 and so on. As you can see that 3 is repeating. So you can put a bar on that, so indicating that number is repeating. So the answer is 0.3 bar. So 1/3, the decimal value is 0.333 and so on, or we can say 0.3 bar. Let's do the next question. Say the next fraction is 3/16. We are converting that into a decimal. So 3/16 is a fraction. So let's see how we convert 3/16 into a decimal. Again, we take numerator 3 and we divide by 16. So you take 3 here and we are dividing that by 16. As you can see, 3 is less than 16. Again, you put a decimal, you add a 0. And we put a decimal exactly above the decimal. And now 16 times 1, that gives you 16. 30 minus 16 is 14. Now we can add a 0 here. Now bring down that 0. This becomes 140. And now you can do 16 times 8. 16 times 8, that gives you 128. Now you subtract 128 from 140. That gives you 12. And now you can add a 0 and bring down that 0 here. That becomes now 120. Now you can do 16 times 7. That gives you 112. Now 120 minus 112, that's going to be 8. Now we can add a 0 here and you can bring down that 0. This becomes 80. Now you can see 16 times 5, that is 80, right? So 80 minus 80, that's going to be 0. So what is the answer? That's going to be 0.1875. That's the decimal value for 3/16. 0.1875. Let's do the next question. Say we are dividing, or we can take a fraction, say 2/14. So let's see what is the decimal value for 2/14. Again, we're going to divide numerator by denominator. We take 2 and we are dividing 2 by 14. Now we put a decimal here, we can add a 0. And now you put the decimal exactly above that. And you can divide 14 times 1. That gives you 14. So 20 minus 14. That is 6. And you can add a 0 here. You can bring down that. This becomes 60. 14 times 4 is 56. 60 minus 56. That's going to be 4. Now you can add a 0 here. And we bring down that 0. This becomes 40. Now 14 times 2 is 28. Now 40 minus 28. That's going to be 12. Again, now you can add a 0 and you can bring down that 0 here. This becomes 120. Now let me write this 120 here. And now, so you can do 14 times 8. That becomes 112. So 120 minus 112, that's going to be 8. So we can keep dividing until we get a 0 as a remainder. Or we can just stop here and round it to some decimals. Say we got the answer here, 0.1428. Of course, we still get some numbers if we keep dividing, but we are stopping here. And let's see, what is the decimal value rounded to 3 decimals? Now, when we round this decimal to 3 decimals, what is the answer? As you can see, when we are rounding it to 3 decimals, we look at the next digit. If that digit is 5 or more than 5, we add 1 to the previous digit. So the answer becomes here 0.14. As the next digit is 5 or above, we are adding 1 to the previous digit. That becomes 0.143. So this is the decimal value for 2 over 14. And that's it. Now you know how to turn any fraction into a decimal and why some decimals go on forever. If this helped make things clearer, give it a like and subscribe for quick math tips. Thanks for watching and keep learning.